So Dana, do you want to take it away for this
Sure,
webinar?
I'll be glad to. Thank you, Martin. Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Dana Reeves, and I am with WT Cox. I'm the Regional Vice President of Sales for WT Cox. I've been with the company for 24 years now. So Martin and I have met throughout the last couple of years, and we're super excited that he is here today to introduce Zendy to our marketplace here in the US. So thank you so much for hosting this for us today, Martin. We're very excited to bring this to our customer base here in America, and we're super excited to help you guys launch this here. So thank you so much, and we're excited to learn more.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Dana, for the introduction, and very nice to meet you all. My name is Martin Jagerhorn, and I'm actually one of the co-founders of Zendy back in the day. And when we started out with Zendy, our ambition was to provide equitable access to knowledge. So it was primarily focused on individual researchers, especially in developing countries where they belong to institutions that could not afford subscriptions to premium content. But more recently, so early this year, we've decided to also open this up for institutions and do that worldwide. So Zendy's been around for quite some time. It's a global platform with about 1 million users already. And now we are, as said, finding a way to facilitate the access for researchers worldwide and also at institutions in the US together with WT Cox. So today I'll give all of you an overview, an introduction through a few slides, and then we'll go into a live demonstration of the platform. And I'll try to explain and highlight what the differences are for different ways how you could leverage Zendy for your faculty members and students. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask those at any time as we go through. And Dana and I hope Dana will help me to keep an eye on any
I will.
questions in the
I
chat.
will.
All right, so I'll share my screen here to see that we get the right things on the screen. Can you see that all right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So basically, Zendy is really a platform for accelerating research. And if we look at the current situation with this enormous amount of research papers being published every year, about 5 million per year, that's about 14,000 papers a day. That's, of course, impossible to keep up with. There are a lot of interesting studies, one quoted down here that you may want to look more closely at, that indicate that there is somewhere between 25 and 30% of the time that researchers have to spend on just finding the right literature and reviewing it. So if we take a very modest estimation, that equals a cost of about $10,000 per researcher a year. So if we look at this in an aggregated way for an institution, that's quite significant costs. So with new technology, especially with all the new AI possibilities out there, we do have new ways and opportunities to support research and education, especially to find more easily the really relevant content, so we don't get lost in sort of the traditional ways of finding content where we only look at, for example, the papers from our favorite authors or looking at papers in our favorite journals with the highest impact factor. But finding more intelligent ways to really identify the relevant literature for the research that we are doing. So if we look at the challenges at these two different sides, on the one hand side, the discovery services that are out there, and on the other side, the different AI assistants that are out there for research. Well, then there are a lot of fundamental challenges around those. We've just listed a few of the more traditional discovery services down here. And the challenges are not exactly the same for all of these, but they have all these challenges to various degree. Primarily, a lot of these sources have simply too many irrelevant results when we search for something. And the data is incomplete in one way or the other, either because it's limited seen to which journals it covers, or incomplete seen to the actual record, so we only find metadata, not the full texts. And that is also a major challenge, not getting to the actual full text. You would think that this would be a solved challenge by now with a seamless access to the full text, but it's really not, as you probably know and have noticed. And we also have an increasing number of untrustworthy sources in pace with more and more open access. There are also more and more suspected predatory journals, and maybe some publishing practices that are not so great. So a lot of challenges on the discovery side that we need to deal with. And if we look at AI research assistants, again, you'll see a number of them listed down here. Well, they have other challenges. First of all, most AI tools out there have very limited scholarly content. And specifically, they are more traditional chat prompts, like you know from ChatGPT and Gemini and all the others. And so not a proper discovery support, which also means that you don't really use them to get to full text access, or, get to actual full text. Again, if it includes scholarly content, and you can see a recent article from Wiley yesterday, how many of these are simply scraping the content from the publishers. And that's, of course, not really great for many different reasons. When you use these different AI assistants, you will also find that they are more based on just a large language model, so an LLM, which is great at interpreting your language and helping you with essentially natural language processing, but not so great in checking for the actual, in this case, research content or the research literature. And I'll explain that in a little bit more detail later. But this basically means that you have an increasing amount of hallucinations in your responses. And hallucinations, for you that are maybe not so familiar with this AI terminology that is exploding right now. But that means that it sort of interprets your question and provides an answer based on the likelihood for that answer to be true, not necessarily limiting the answer to a verified set of content. So, for example, if you look up a person who is a journalist, then typically these tools will suggest that they have written 2 books, because on average, more or less, that's what they've done, even though this specific journalist may not have written a single book. Right? So that's just a very basic example of what these hallucinations really mean. So we do have, hence, a lack of transparency. A lot of these suspected predatory publishers are typically also then indexed in this, but very often under very unclear licensing terms. So if we want to provide a service to our faculty members and students, we probably don't want to offer a service that faces these kinds of challenges, because if they start to use that, well, they will have hallucinations, they may use predatory content, which will be potentially quite disastrous for their academic career. So when we have designed Zendy, well, then we've focused on really research discovery and literature review for the moment, to ensure that these parts work in a much faster and facilitated way, and with much more trustworthy basis, so a much more trustworthy basis. And for the different aspects along the research process, we have different AI capabilities to support the researchers and students along the way. First, they can use an assistant. This is the typical chat prompt. We call her Zaya. Females are usually more intelligent than men. And so helping with aspects like problem identification, but also research design to a certain degree. So you can ask all kinds of research-related questions. We'll have a look at a few examples later. And then you get answers to those, and you also get the direct references to the actual full text articles. So you can look everything up directly in more detail if you want to. Then for the discovery part, well, we stepwise empower this discovery with more AI capabilities. Right now, this includes the possibility to get an AI-generated insight for each article, so it's quicker, more easy to identify which articles to actually go back to and read in more detail. And you can let Zaya ask questions on the paper, or you ask your own questions, and Zaya answers what that paper really is about. So you can interact with the content in an intelligent way. Once you've found a full text article, well, then you also get all the different sections if this is structured as a typical research article. Also summarize, so you can go directly to the methodology, for example, or the conclusions, so that your literature review gets faster. You also have all the key phrases in this document highlighted for you, so you can zoom in on the right clauses in this document, just to give a few examples. Right. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone so far. Yeah. All right. So this now becomes a little bit more technical. I'll try to keep it short, but if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to go through the details. But so as I said before, one of the key differentiators seen to how we work with Zendy and all these other research AI assistants and discovery services is that we, on the one hand side, use we do use an LLM like everyone else. In our case, we use Mistral. Mistral is open source and a very cost-effective LLM, which means that when you ask a question, then we use Mistral as an LLM to interpret whatever we put in as a query or question. But instead of delivering the answer directly through this LLM, we've built our own database for this kind of RAG principle called retrieval augmented generation. In short, this means that we provide the context of the answers. The context of the answers is look only at this specific database with academic literature. And for that database of academic literature, we use, first of all open access content, but we remove retractions, and we try to remove and filter out what is considered suspected predatory publishers. And we use a very simple principle. So we look at publishers that are gold open access publishers, or the journals that are gold journals. If they're hybrid, the likelihood that they would be predatory is smaller. And we look at where they've been indexed. So if they have been indexed in DOAJ, we see that more or less like a whitelist, because DOAJ makes a quite thorough assessment of every gold OA journal. But DOAJ does not index everything that is okay or good. So we look at also including open access journals that are less than 2 years, because they have not gone through that kind of assessment from DOAJ. So this is not a perfect way. Right? We cannot guarantee there are no suspected predatory journals or publishers in there, but at least it eliminates or minimizes the risk from what we can see. And in addition, for the actual AI assistant, we only use content that we have a license agreement with the publisher for. Right. So this is quite important to ensure that we have that on a solid basis. Right. So that means you asked your question. We have certain topical safeguards as well, so we don't go into unethical territory with some questions. This is not censorship. This is just unethical topics. Then before we provide the answer, well, then we do check this academic database that has been as cleaned as possible, and that is based on license agreements with the publishers when we produce the answer, and the answer backed up by different specific articles, so you can see what those references are. All right, hopefully that wasn't too technical or too complicated to follow. Okay, Dana, was that okay as an explanation?
Sorry, yes. I understand. Yes, definitely. Thank you.
All right, great. Okay, so overall, we are developing Zendy in a way that means that we can solve these key challenges with both discovery services and AI research assistants in a rather unique way. So, seen to the discovery gap, well, our focus is really to provide this AI-powered discovery and literature review, so that you can find and review the relevant literature faster. Seen to content, well, we have all the open access content in the discovery service. And if you as an institution want to use Zendy, you can also include all your subscription content, right? So exactly in the same way as you use potentially one or a few different discovery services today, or if your researchers use a few different ones, well, then you have the possibility to offer them one place to go to where the data has been curated, and it provides access in a single point to all your subscription content, and in addition, all the open access content. Right. And one of our focus points from the very beginning has been to provide a very seamless access to the full texts. So ideally, we have them already actually hosted, so you will be able to open them up on Zendy directly on the platform in Zendy's PDF viewer. That's where you have this AI assistance for the literature review as well. And worst case, we may not have it on the platform, in which case we provide them with an authenticated link to get to that full text on the publisher site. And as I would seem to the trust concerns that are out there typically, well, then we can assure you that we have clear license agreements with the publishers to minimize this risk for hallucinations and predatory publishers. All right. Okay, so last slide before we move over to a live demo. So Zendy offers you to AI empower your institution, and you can decide how much you want to AI empower it, basically. We have one level called Zendy Open. This is basically a subscribe to open model. So you don't have a direct benefit from this other than supporting the open access. Because Zendy Open is what you would get if you go to zendy.io today and create an account. So this is free for everyone worldwide. But it does cost us some money. So that's why we are very grateful for the institutions that support us to keep Zendy Open free for everyone. And so that's an arbitrary contribution. The average is usually around $3,000 per institution per year. But really, if you want to just embrace it and recommend it on your LibGuides or so, that's of course also fine. You don't have to make a financial contribution. Zendy Open has all this open access content, but it's quite limited what you can use the AI for. So there are only a certain number of queries every month, a certain number of documents that you can access and so forth with the AI possibilities. If we look at Zendy Premium, then it's still only the open access content, but there is no limitation to how much of these AI capabilities you can use. That means that you can give all your faculty and students an unlimited AI discovery of open access content in a much more cost-efficient way than if they would go and subscribe individually. So they can, of course, go and subscribe, but then that's a much higher price than if you would subscribe and provide access to all your faculty and students. This is also the level that we use typically when we do a trial. So every institution can get a free trial. This is typically around 4 weeks, but we can always discuss if you want to keep it a little bit longer than that. And the trials follow a quite systematic process of communicating about the service to your faculty and students and collecting their views through a short survey, what they like and what they don't like. So this is a way, even if you don't continue after the trial, at least it gives both of us a better feeling and understanding of what your faculty and students think around using AI tools for research discovery and literature review. And of course, specifically what they like and do not like with Zendy. So for us, that's helpful to guide our continuous development as well. Zendy Complete is the typical level that institutions opt in for, because that includes not only the open access content, but also all your subscription content. This is not only what you subscribe to as typical publishers and their content behind paywalls, but it's also your library catalog, and you can include internal additional resources. Um, and um, uh, and then the last level, Zendy Enterprise, it usually includes Zendy Complete, but some institutions actually go only with Zendy Enterprise without Zendy Complete. And Zendy Enterprise means that you can get this AI assistant connected to any of your own internal sources. This can be your LibGuides, your whole website, your course catalog, your staff database, your institute repository, if you have a crystal rim system, any content. And then institutions are using this to improve their operational efficiency, because they can then ask any employee, any student could then ask any question around anything around your own organization. What are the opening hours for the library? Or what study programs are there? Or what courses are there that fit my profile? So it's always tailored to the user. Right. Hopefully that makes sense as well to everyone. And then you see sort of price indications here, but this of course depends on how many faculty members you have. We don't, even though this is used a lot by the students, we don't charge for that. We only charge for how many researchers there are. So this is um, more, yeah. Uh, so it's really affordable for university colleges, and so they do not have maybe so many researchers. And it's still affordable for research-intensive organizations. But it does, you see that we try to find a good balance there. All right. So we'll move over to a live demonstration. So as said, any of you can go to zendy.io and create your account if you don't have one already. And when you log in, you will be faced by this landing page, where first of all, you can define or describe your profile or your interests. So you can update your profile here, explore different areas and say, I'm interested in this and that. And based on your profile, you will get, for example, here, articles that are matching your profile. So the start page or landing page here offers you simply different entries into the data. So one is here, recommended individual articles based on your profile. You can use Zendy also on your phone. So there is a specific Zendy app, which was released this month, so very recent. Or you may want to just look up or look at data articles from specific publishers, specific journals, or on specific subject areas. All right. So those are the different perspectives, if you like, but you can, of course, also just search for something, and that can be a combination of keywords, title, abstract, authors, publication or journal titles, etc., or if you want to look at specific publishers. I also see that I'm still logged in here. I think I was logged in for too long here. There we go. And when we see the results here, you can start to combine whatever we search for with these different filters. The preference search is again taking our interest into consideration, so we get a different sort order. Or you want to limit it maybe on a given time period, or different kinds of output types, whether it's only journal articles or also conferences, monographs, and so forth, subject areas, journal titles, or different languages. And when we scroll down the list here, we also see that the platform generates these AI summaries or insights on the fly for each article. So it's a little bit easier to see which articles we want to look into more thoroughly. And once we have an article that we want to explore a bit further, instead of just saving it directly or viewing it in detail, you can let Zaya ask questions on this paper. And so, where is my favorite question? Here. What is the key to establishing a broad consensus around the meaning of open access, for example? So the questions we saw here were already suggested by the AI assistant. And we can pick one of those, or you can, of course, ask your own questions. And then we get a response here that facilitates our review or understanding of this article, if it's really relevant for us to read through, or if we're actually happy with just getting the answer like this. So we get insights into these articles in a quite interactive way.
Martin, quick
Yes.
question on that. That's per article, like the questions are different for each article, correct? It goes through, reads that article and kind of prompts the
Yep.
researcher.
Exactly. Yeah. This is on each individual article, indeed.
Awesome. Okay, perfect.
Yep. All right. And so once you've found an article that you want to read, you don't have to do that either directly. You can either just bookmark it. So this was already bookmarked like this, or you add it to an existing list, or you add a new list. You can add it to several lists at the same time. So that means that you can go back to those reading lists at any point in time. So we see I have a few reading lists up here with different articles for each reading list. And again, I can let Zaya ask questions, or I just want to cite it, or I want now to go in and read the full text. I can also add some notes to each article, so it's easier to keep track on. Same thing with the bookmarks, which becomes like a read history in this way, or the ones that are marked a longer time ago, then they appear here as favorites. The last part here is then Zaya herself, that we are embedding more and more into the actual discovery. You will see that she will sort of merge more and more. You've already seen her for each article, but we can really use this AI assistance even more in an even more integrated way. So here we can start a new conversation. You'll recognize this is the same kind of way how many AI assistants work. So we can ask a new question or start a completely new conversation. We can also go in here and see previous questions we've asked and maybe ask follow-up questions. And so with this example, what we're looking at here are articles that are seminal or breakthrough research on metabolism. So we get our answer in this way, but we also get it backed up with references. So we can go to any of these. And now, as we ask for seminal articles, we see that these have been published quite a long time in the past, some of them. So one more recent, and then back to 1932, and then the other ones in between. Whereas if we ask another type of question, like what are the key challenges being researched today? So we understand it's much more recent. Well, we'll also see that the references here are more recent. So Xi can be used in this kind of way to ask questions, and you can dig deeper into this, of course. And so these can be very long conversations. In this example, we just stayed with one question, and that's it. But the most important is that you really get this backed up with these references. So if we click on a reference here and open it up, we see that we get to the full text in a single click. Same thing with the discovery search. Right? So this is when it's hosted on Zendy. And if it is not hosted on Zendy, well, then we're taken to that full text on the publisher site. So we don't get all the AI assistance in those cases, but we do have the ambition to have essentially everything also on Zendy. And this is where we can get, first of all, some details on the paper, if this would be published in a journal. So this is on a preprint server, so on archive. But if this would be in a journal, we would see the journal's Simago score and H-index. Interestingly, it's actually an H-index for the journal itself, not only authors. And then we can, of course, cite and export this or like it and to do some minor things that we use then across the platform later or in the background to tune the content and make it more relevant to all users. Then we also get the summarization here, which is the overall summary, but also summaries for the different sections. So we can dive into this directly and see what the conclusions are without having to scroll through and try to find it and see what we can find there. And we also see that the key phrases are highlighted here. So we can zoom in, as said, on the relevant parts of the article. So with that said, we'll hopefully given everyone a little bit of a feeling for what Zendy looks like, what it can do, how it works, the journey that we are on, and what the possibilities are for you as an institution to join the collaboration and enable this service in a cost-effective way to your faculty and students. So we will share this recording afterwards and also the slide deck, so you can see in more detail what these different subscription options mean. And if you want to try Zendy out for your institution, the easiest is to go to this URL and complete the form. So it's content.zendy.io/contact sales. And there is an option called subscribing to AI tools. This is maybe not perfect, but at least that helps us to get your contact request prioritized. And so when we do a trial, the only thing that we need from you as input is your IP ranges. And then we set the authentication up in such a way that anyone that is on your IP ranges, when they register for Zendy, they will be on Zendy Premium, which is the plan for the trials. And you will also get a trial agreement, so you can see all the conditions are if you want to proceed after the trial. Yeah, we try to keep that really simple and straightforward. Right. Any questions from anyone? Or Dana, do you want to say a few words?
I don't see any questions right now. I do want to reiterate the trial process. We'll be happy to get those set up right away, and you can, it's a very easy process. I know that you guys set up our trials for us to review it as well in a matter of minutes. So we'll be happy to help with that, but we really appreciate you showing this to our market here and I just think it's a fantastic product. It's really got, I mean, I'm blown away by it every time you demo it with us. So I'm excited for our market to see this and to get to trying it.
Right. Yep, super. And I just realized that we've a question in the Q&A. Very
Okay.
good that someone you actually use the
Oh,
Q&A
sorry.
and not the
Yeah, I was
chat.
in the
Yeah, yeah,
chat.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. So the question is, does the mobile app have the PDF reader with full AI functionality? And so the answer is, for the moment, no. The app means the app is really the Zaya chat assistant. Uh, but if you click on any of the links, it does open seamlessly uh, on the platform. But you're taken to, so if you're using an iPhone, it takes you to, let's say, Safari or Chrome, and then it opens it up there. But it's not directly in the app yet. So it's more to have this assistant on the fly, and then, as I said, you get those answers there, but with the references linked. So if you click on a reference, then it opens up seamlessly.
Then we have another question as well.
Yes. Yes. So did you cover, so someone joining a bit late, did you cover how proprietary library databases, oh, okay, it was a bit fast. Did you cover how
AI is taking over
proprietary,
here.
yeah, proprietary library databases are ingested into Zendy? If so, I will watch the recording when I receive it. So no, we did not go into the details on how we index other databases. So we do work with most publishers already. So if you have subscriptions to, let's say, Wiley, IEEE, or any um, other major publishers, then usually we have everything set up, so it's quite easy for us to just activate the access for you for whatever content you subscribe to. If we do not have that set up already with those publishers with hosting of their content, then we provide you with so that then when you're searching on Zendy, you will be searching through the metadata. So we don't have the full text indexed in those cases. This is what you have with most discovery services. You're actually only searching through the metadata, like on EDS and other places. Um, and then we take you, so we have the authentication set up, so it takes you from that record to the full text on the publisher site. So you lose out on for those publishers, and then seen to these AI capabilities that are available in the PDF reader. Um, um, if there is a source where that we have not indexed at all, we don't even have the metadata, then you can provide that through, for example, MARC records. So you can include those, and then we'll have them indexed. Our preferences, if you have an API, and then we set up an integration through that API so that it's we can use whatever, if you do an update on whatever database you have and there's an API integration, then we will have that data also indexed on the fly. But worst case, you can provide us with the MARC records and we index those, but that means that every time you make changes, you will have to provide us with an update. So these are the typical possibilities that we use for different databases. And then for the AI capabilities, if you want to include sources there, now we talk more about Zendy Enterprise, then there is an API integration, but this is done in an agentic way. So as you may have heard or know, the kind of new modern way with these AI assistants in general is that they use agents. And so we have implemented that a kind of agentic approach, which means that it's done in a very effective way. And there are some technical details exactly what the technology is around the API integration, but just so you know, it's an agentic architecture for the API. So hopefully that answered your question about the.
Bob did follow up with another question of, is there a list of publishers that you work with already on your website?
So on the website, there are a number of the publishers we work with, but not all of them. So what we typically do is, if you make an export of your resources, like your knowledge base, and say this is what we have subscriptions to, we uh, we make an assessment, and we'll tell you exactly what we cover, whether it's with full text hosting or only metadata, or if it's something that we would need to set up an integration with. Yep. All right. Great. So, if there are
And
no
the
more,
list of publishers,
yeah.
your teammate posted in the chat function, so
Okay,
that link
great.
is there.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, wonderful.
Yep.
Okay, super. Great. Well, then it just remains to say thank you very much, everyone, for listening in today, asking all the questions, and we'd be very happy to see some of you reaching out either directly to Dana or myself, or if you want to complete this form, that works, of course, wonderfully well as well.
Perfect. And a recording will go out to everyone that attended, correct, and registered.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
All right.
thank you so much, Martin. This was great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very, very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for attending. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.